name is Corey Punzi. My question for you is, in the spirit of collaboration, is there a plan for you to foster better relationships with your bordering cities?
That's a good question.
The bordering cities is not the problem. Birmingham is in the Big Ten. They have a league that they call themselves the Big Ten. All of the Big Ten mayors. But let me tell y'all what happens in the room with the Big Ten mayors. They talk about all of what's going on in their cities. Huntsville. Housing development after housing development. Industry after industry. Community after community. And I want to be clear, because someone's daughter said to me a few weeks ago, I would have moved back, but the promise made to me that there was going to be housing. Listen, we're going to do low-income housing. We need it. But not everybody wants low to moderate income housing. Therefore, we should be about doing both. Mixed communities. That's what we should be about. So with that being said, the Big Ten, this is going on, that is going on. That's why I started with those cities. Because I went to Homewood a few days ago. I was driving around and I had to go to the pharmacy over there. I looked, this was about 3 Fridays, it was so many people in their yards playing. Throwing the frisbee, walking the dogs, running on the sidewalks, enjoying life. You would have thought they were at a tourist attraction. So when I got into the city, the same thing. I called Ron Buford. I said, Ron, why is Birmingham so different? Why can I not walk and drive in Homewood and every street I went down, it was delivered? Not one piece of paper. Not one Cigarillo wrap. Not one Church's chicken box. Not one Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. Not one Budweiser. Not one Mad Dog 2020. Not one. Every house manicured. I didn't see not one big dumpster. So you mean to tell me then I go over to Gardendale, I was riding with a friend, and I'm closing. He's a realtor. And we pulled in and I was busy looking at something, and he said, man, this is so clean over here. Started thinking, why is Gardendale so clean? But Birmingham isn't, and you got to go past Birmingham to get to Gardendale and Fultondale. You got to go through Birmingham if you're going south to pass Homewood and Hoover. And lastly, I'm on an estate that I'm over. The realtor came in, she said, Miss Givan. She said, please excuse me. I said, what you talking about? Y'all know Alicia Webster. She said, but I've been in Hoover, and we've been surveying the new housing communities. I said, beg your pardon? She said, oh yes. I said, do you mean to tell me they're building a no? She said, yes. And that's when I said, bingo. You cannot rebuild this city if you're not putting housing and bringing and giving people an opportunity to make a choice as to where they want to live in a safe and quiet, clean neighborhood. Clean. And the people don't want a whole lot. They don't care about that stadium. Most of the people in here care more about Legion Field than they do uptown. As I mentioned a moment ago, the first thing I'm going to do, I said this to Cynthia Gould a few weeks ago, I'm going to have a meeting. I don't care how tired I am. That next day, I want y'all to be on notice, Mr. Gunn, Miss Cook, all y'all in here, that y'all going to have an appointment. And wherever we choose to meet, we'll come over here and let Steve Tutt allow us to come here. But I want to sit down and I want to talk with y'all. And you're right, we need to train our neighborhoods here. First of all, you cut the number of people who can even go to the NUSA conference. So is NUSA really doing any good? If it were not for you all keeping these neighborhoods together, I shudder to think what this city would be like. Listen, you all, we work for you. And I don't care, even with Richard Arrington and some of the things he did, he believed in the neighborhoods. That is why he implemented the $10,000. Really, if the truth be told, y'all actually should be at 15 or 20. I heard it a few weeks ago and I'll close on that, but that's going to be the first thing I do. And then not only that, I'm going to have these people who can do this training, that can answer these questions, and on that Friday, whatever appointment y'all have, you're going to come in, you're going to sit down and talk to me, and we're going to figure out how to make it work. But the other thing you're going to have to do, Richard, you're going to have to get the services improved and the customer service inside of City Hall working as a nexus. Our community development used to be the #1 community development department in this country. We had the paint program. Why was the paint program important? So you didn't have so many dilapidated houses, because the people were able to come and pick up paint and keep the neighborhoods looking better. So we're going to implement that paint project back, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about how do we make it better? Where do we put these substations for our police department? But most importantly, we're going to figure out how to get a street and sanitation department back. This public works, that's fine. I don't have a problem with the name. When I worked there and I picked up garbage and I drove the garbage truck, and then I got a little truck, and then I had a whole crew and picked up paper, it was the street and sanitation department. We need a sanitation department now, because this city is so ragged and filthy. And that needs to happen, and that can't happen unless we hire enough people. When I worked at the Public Works Department, we had over 1,500 employees. The city of Birmingham only has, at the Public Works Department, right at about 500 employees to cover an entire city of roughly 190,000 people. That is why your city is filthy. Y'all don't need dumps. Y'all need people. I'm going to tell the truth. And even down to the police department. And I'm taking the next question.
All right,
Birmingham only has, because y'all need to hear this. Birmingham only has roughly 300 and something sworn APO certified police officers. Birmingham did not need another plan written up. That was all for fluff, because I was on their butts a few weeks prior to. So they have to come up with something. That's why I said stop falling for this stuff y'all see on Facebook, because it's a backstory. 300 and something sworn police APO certified officers cannot police the city of Birmingham. That is why you're seeing so much crime. Birmingham paid the folks from Harvard, I don't know how many thousands of dollars in 2021 to commission a study on crime. That crime report is nothing but community policing one-on-one, but you cannot do it unless you have the officers. The first thing I'm going to do is meet with those officers, and I'm going to get officers to come back. Y'all should be wondering why that $15, $20 million was on the table and they barely can get anybody working. Because they don't want to work for this administration. Because they are worn out mentally, physically, and emotionally, and they're disrespected, because you have all of these people who are over them who have no supervisory experience. So this is the story that's not being told, and I can back it up. So all of this stuff y'all seeing in this fluff, forget that Facebook page, forget those posts. Y'all need to know the truth. I'm not shading anybody. This is what I have been calling this administration every other day. Hey, you need to get a hold of the number of sworn officers. When you started, we had 1,300 and something officers. By the time your second term picked up in 2021, we had already dropped down to 800 officers. I'm calling him every day, begging, pleading, begging, because I didn't want him to fail. I wanted him to succeed. But by the time we get to 2021 and we're at 800 and some officers, and I'm calling back, look here, something. Because this is how I'm talking now. If it's a lie, how many times I told you this, Lynn? Samuel, I talked to them about this. So this stuff means something to me. Because at the end of the day, if you drop down to 850, Richard, in 2021, you lose 80 officers. The first first week. Within the first year, that year. Then 2022, you down to 600 and some officers. By the time the end of 2023 hit, Birmingham only had 500 and something sworn officers. So the truth needs to be told. By the time we got to 2024, it was out of control. Because at that point, we only had 300 and something sworn officers. So when all of these killings started happening, they started happening because the kids and these people on the streets know that the likelihood of anybody being able to catch them is very unlikely, so they'll take their chances. Watasha Carter, I mentioned him. That shift he worked. He told them we don't have enough manpower. Not enough officers to carry out the task. Nobody wanted to listen. Let's go out anyway. Well, he's been dead ever since that decision. And his blood does fall on the hands of those at the city of Birmingham. It's verifiable. So with that being said, when you see that there's only 4 officers working in your precincts, last 2-3 weeks ago, South Precinct only had 5 police officers. West Precinct should have the most because it's the most populated part of Birmingham. Over 50% of the population in Birmingham is at the West Precinct. I'm teaching because I want y'all to know I'm not running just for fluff. I'm losing money if I go in the mayor's office. But I love the people and I love the citizens. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. We're a nonpartisan organization. This ain't about friendship. This is about leadership. And we could be standing on the cusp of history. And whether I win or not, I'm going to run a race knowing that I tried my best. And at the end of the day, for those who say, I like this person, this ain't about like, it's simply this. It's about the fact that under the Constitution, you have a 4-year term. And at the end of 4 years, your name goes back on the ballot and the people decide to send you back. In other words, it is not one name assigned to that seat. So my last question, who else has a question? Somebody else over here?
Thank you for stepping up to the challenge. You're so worthy of it, and we are glad to see someone with your stature come and do something. You're a small woman, but you carry a big stick. I want to ask you why we, the citizens of Birmingham, have paid for police cameras. And the police have them on them when they come into your home, when they come into certain areas, and what have you. Why can't those cameras be shown? Well, we can't show the camera now. Why can't they be shown?
Well,
why don't they have them on?
I'm glad you said that because one of the things that I'm going to cannot stop them, at least you should be able to catch them.
That's all right.
And the people will feel better if they have a sense of security knowing that somebody is watching. All of these things is just something that somebody needs to take time. Don't tell me the city of Birmingham does not have enough money. You come and you say you're going to put $20 million. $20 million, y'all should have been marching. After 8 years, that's all they can give y'all is $20 million to make it look good. 15 for roads and resurfacing. It'll cost you $500,000 on one street. So tell me how far that will go. Don't believe the hype. It's fluff. And that's all I'm here to do. Now y'all do what y'all want to do on August 26th, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to give it to you straight. No chasing. This thing is for real.
I got a question right here.
Yes. What's going on with Birmingham Southern? It's a nice campus, and we know the longer it stays vacant, then what's going to happen?
Listen, let me say something. I want all of the media and everybody with a phone to come closer. Because I want you to hear it from my lips about Birmingham Southern. I moved to process along one year. I was that person. I fought. I got them we passed this bill, the Distress Institutions. Young Boozer, our treasurer, had a problem with it. Then the next year, by the time the session comes, I'm waiting for the bill to come down. The bill doesn't come down. Several of my other colleagues, they done went to give somebody who don't live in the area to let them cover the bill. Now, if I got them to vote the year before, I should be able to get. I don't want to talk straight talk, because see, I don't want nobody coming back to y'all lying. So when all of this went down, and I just said, listen, I'm done. And I was. Because I cannot go in your district, or your district, and do anything. Plus, at that point, the numbers that had come in from the treasury were so telling that they would not have survived. It would have been a Band-Aid, and they were going to close eventually, because they had already started eroding their endowment. And once you eat into your endowment, I don't care what you get, it's a quick fix, but it's a Band-Aid that's bleeding all the way through. So much so that Young Boozer told the legislators that if we voted for that bill, it would be as if we had thrown knives up into the sky and stood in place for them to fall. So Birmingham's note, the Birmingham Southern's note, was roughly about 20-something, close to right at 20 million. I'm gonna tell you, because I want y'all to hear this. The note was 20-something million. Miles College, after everything went bust, they came and they said they were considering buying it with encouragement, because they were encouraged to do that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm a Miles College Golden Bell, but I can tell you right now, I didn't want Miles College to buy Birmingham Southern. Everything I'm saying to you, I've told before, because had Miles College purchased Birmingham Southern, there would not be a Miles College today, because it was too much debt. And unless you're going on that campus where you're going to be able to do deferred maintenance, especially if you're doing it as a school with starting out the chute with $30 million, you're going on. Well, here comes Alabama A&M. They had already shown interest. It had been talk of being a consortium and all of them coming. I want y'all to hear this. Young Boozer is a fool. I put it in black and white, because I knew the whole story. So to answer your question, Bev, it is because the leadership does not care about that neighborhood. Because Alabama A&M's plan was to do a full revitalization of Smithfield. They were going to put stores, they were going to purchase Hong Kong foods that used to be on the corner. Yep. They had a full plan of action to do what the city of Birmingham would not do. I called the council person for the area, and I asked, I said, listen man, look at here, what y'all got going on? I said, you don't have nobody over here doing nothing, and you would allow this stuff right here to go on? Well, people think I don't try to talk to leadership, but I do. But it's only so far I can go, because they'll ice me out. And my words to him was, listen, I don't care if you turn into a brick ice cube. Somebody's got to stand up. And the next thing was, we don't have 5 solid votes. I said to one other person that represents the other side, I said, y'all got 5 votes to elect Darrell O'Quinn council president. You mean to tell me y'all can't get 5 votes? Something's wrong with that. So my point is, you got to be concerned about citizens and not worried about these little pleasures, because it is no way, and I don't have a problem with anybody on that council, but there is no way that these communities should be as nasty and run down and dilapidated as they are, and they represent y'all, and I don't care who it is. My last question, who has it? Somebody, Lynn, you had a question? Anybody?
Resources and a lack of opportunity, you will always see high crime.
That's right. Listen, I came here for a reason. I could have gone to any place downtown. Last week, the storm, we had it set for this last week. But I chose to come here. I told Juandalynn. I could go downtown. I could go to the south side. But how am I going to come and talk about all of the dilapidation, and then take y'all to the areas that's clean, and not come here and support Steve Tutt as a black business owner. Something is wrong with that. And I do believe in term limits. I filed a term limit bill for cities. Any great city, and I'm talking about cities, for every great city in this country, there is a 2-term limit, because there's only so much you can do to grow a city. Birmingham, I'm coming. Now, whether you vote for me or not, that's fine. But I'm gonna do my part to educate you. I'm coming. And I'm gonna do my part to tell the truth. And I don't care who you get to go sit on a podcast. Anybody on a podcast talking about me for 2 hours, you got to be crazy, obsessed, mentally deranged. Anybody on a podcast talking about me, and you ain't never walked the halls of the Alabama House of Representatives, you don't understand what a bill is. You don't even know how to process a bill. You don't understand the art of negotiation. You don't understand why we could not pass a bill for the body cam. And I'm going to close out, but I want to touch this. The body cam, listen. So for all of y'all radio warriors who's talking about that bill, let me say this. Come closer. I want everybody to come closer. Because you're not going to drag me over something you don't know about. Could you have imagined last year, had we had an open body cam bill on the table with nobody faces obscured, nobody faces shadow, and people could come and get the body cam just because they wanted it? You had people last year killing in Birmingham because they thought people were witnesses to crimes they had committed. That's right. So you have unintended consequences. But what we did as a caucus, it was a caucus decision after 3 years after George Floyd, that at least that we be able to give families something they had not had. And at least that was to give them the opportunity to see the body cams. No, they can't just take it into their possession. Most states you can't. You have 1 or 2 who have made some exceptions. But could you imagine what a bloodbath? Because for all intents and purposes, the family can go back time and time, however many times. And I'm proud to say, under that legislation, most cities in the state of Alabama now allow families to come in and view body cams. And that was the purpose of that bill. And the next bill. Sometimes sit back, you don't know why people filing stuff in. We take caucus positions. And we may know, but everybody may not know, but it will be revealed. So don't knock me down and don't drag me, because listen, this ain't what you want. All that, not that part, but all that. I thank you all for coming. Thank y'all for bearing the storm last week. I'm thankful for the crowd we had here. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Rick. The other Rick, Carlos, came all the way from Denver. Thank you, Rain. And thank you, everybody. God bless you. God keep you. And we're going to move this city forward, because what